Hello, everybody. Welcome or welcome back. My name is Monique. I'm on a financial health journey to create an inheritance for the generations to come, and I want to do that through consistency and discipline. So, first, I'd like to say thank you, thank you, thank you to anyone who's liked, commented, or even subscribed to my YouTube channel. This was developed to hold me accountable for all of the things that I need to do right as it relates to my finances. But I do understand, recognize, respect, and appreciate having a community of support and how valuable that is. So, for everyone that's on this journey with me, thank you, thank you, thank you. So, today we're here to talk through the September 22nd paycheck that I'll receive on this coming Friday. It will cover a two week time period. I am a bi-weekly paycheck budgeter, and I prefer to do paycheck versus monthly. I was trying to do the monthly look, and that's been a little bit difficult. So I'm not that it's difficult to complete, but trying to close out the monthly and close out all of the paycheck ones and close out the sinking funds and close. It's a lot of closing. So I'm gonna decide whether or not I'm going to do a October one probably in the next week or so, or definitely in the next week or so, and we'll see. I did want to show you guys though that this paycheck is supposed to cover I get paid on the 22nd, and it's going to cover for the remainder of September. As you can see here, the bills that I have for that last week. And then also, let me find that October calendar. Yeah, there you go. It is also going to cover the first week of October as well. I have a lot of bills there to include the Nelnet. So we will talk about that in a little bit. So, all right, let's go ahead and get started. So one of the things you might notice if you've looked at my any of my videos before is this paycheck budget worksheet looks a little different. So I realized that I needed to make some adjustments to the form that I was using. It was a great form. It had all of the boxes on there. It was actually a workbook, a budget workbook that I purchased from Adaptable Planning. It had the hyperlinks, and it had the monthly calendar, and it just had everything in it, right? And so, but what I was having to do, because I have different names for my categories, and the boxes that were available, or the rows that were available based on that particular section, wasn't necessarily matching up. I would actually have to copy different names of categories and move them around. So I would take the name from the debt and I would put it in a smaller section because I didn't have as much debt as I did the fixed expenses, etc. So I was having to do a lot of that manipulation. So what I decided to do is go to good old Canva and find a budget paycheck template, and then I adjusted it, added rows where I needed to, change the category names the way I needed to. And there was something else that and I can't remember. I think a lot of people have talked about this actually, because I listen to a lot of content on YouTube, and a lot of times we talk about paying yourself first. And so I thought that would be good to reflect on my actual budget itself. So what you'll notice is, I skipped ahead. Did not mean to do that. Let's see. Let's go back. Hey, this is real, right? Mistakes and all. So, what I did decide to do was, my income is now here on is always been on the left side of any of the paycheck budget worksheets that I've seen. But I moved my sinking funds, I moved my savings over here on this side as well, because in my mind, that's all paying myself first. So let's go ahead and get those out of the way. And then it starts with variable expenses, fixed expenses, debt, etc. So I did make an adjustment there. And by creating my own form, I was able to add my sinking funds already, because those typically won't change. Well, now I say that, but I see one in particular that I'm probably going to change. But luckily that's just in typeset, so I can actually remove that without having to create a whole new form. Let me just tell you, although what you're seeing here is nice and great, this is like version 876. Like every time I thought I had the form right and I started to use it, I realized there was another field I needed to add or something I needed to remove, or I needed to move some of these boxes over to have some more space, etc. So I've been tweaking this for about a month, even while I've been using the other one. And I think I finally got it right. So we will see. It also allowed me an opportunity to do a little, design on it, or a little deco, whatever you say. And I talked before about the fact that I kind of got that inspiration from Planning Serenity, just with the way that she does her spreads. So I've been trying to add some stuff in there because I look at this every day, my budget stuff every day. So it's always great to look at something that's kind of cute. How about that? Okay. All right. So we will go ahead and get started. So for my budget, as far as the income is concerned, I am figuring about a total of $29.20 on that. That includes my payroll, where for payroll, I automatically have my pet insurance and my car insurance deducted from that. As I mentioned before, my daughter gives me rent, and then out of that rent, I cover any of her student loans that I'm paying for her, my rollover, and then it goes ahead and subtracts tithes from that too. So all of this has already been considered when I came up with the number $29.20. All right, so with that said, let's move to sinking funds, because this is probably where I need to make the biggest adjustment. So last paycheck, I could only give myself at first $300, but then I ended up giving myself $350 because I had a little bit of not overage, but I had a little bit left after I figured everything out. But this week, I think I'm back on track, or this paycheck, I think I'm back on track. So I'm going to go ahead and go back up to my $400 budget for sinking funds. And the way that I do that is I'm going to start with what I know I have to do. So first and foremost is going to be Corinne, because I have to get ready for the $300 deposit that I need to make for her trip to Carnegie Hall. My property insurance always has to get $75. I want to go back up to $50 for emergency if I can, because I did have that lower, and I want to do $60 for deductibles if I can, because I do have some appointments scheduled that I need to make sure I'm covering the cost for. Not to mention, I just took $154 out of deductibles because my daughter broke her glasses, then she broke her backup glasses, and neither pair were under insurance anymore. So we do have an appointment scheduled for the first week of October. Great, but I don't know that she can make it until then. So I did have to go ahead and order some. And it was $154. I did not use the insurance, so I'll be able to use the insurance when we actually have our appointment. So definitely need to make sure I give the $60 for deductibles. So have 400. Let's take away 50 and the 75, the 100 and the 60. That leaves me with 115. So taxes always gets 10. You know what? I'm going to give myself $5 for Jim's business. I said I was not going to give myself any money unless I actually made money. And I did make money this past week. I had 3 sales or 4 sales, which was good. But I did have to order some items and some packing materials and some labels, etc. So I might have to include a little bit into that fund, just because there might be, I always considered I would not buy any more materials unless I have the sales to match it. But the shipping products I'm finding, or labels, or those types of things, soft costs is what I'm going to refer to it as, or wire, or replace some pliers, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and add the 5 there for that right now, and then just kind of build it up and then we'll see what I might need to use that for. So I took that away, so that's 100. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 categories. I could do 20 for each. I need 25 for household. So minus, I said 15. So I'm going to say 15 for Xerxes. And then I'm going to say minus 25. So that's still 60. So I'll do 20 for gifts. I'm going to do 30 for car maintenance, and then 10 for date night. So minus 20, minus 30, minus 10, and that's 0. Okay, so then that'll be my numbers for the sinking fund. All right, for savings, so I wrote myself a note up here at the top. 3 items that I'm going to do for my savings challenges, and I may introduce another one as well, but these are the ones that I could plan for ahead of time. So my paycheck savings challenge, I get paid on the 22nd, so I'll save $22. Glamopoly, I owe myself $20. I did not roll again. And then I have a mini challenge that I'm doing, and I'll have 8 for that. So that's going to be a total of, 50 for the challenges. And then bank buffer, I give $25 to my bills buffer account and $25 to my variable expense buffer account. So that's going to be 50 as well. All right, so that's a total of 100. Next is variable expenses, and for each week I give myself $370. I try not to change the amount, the total amount, but I do change up what categories or envelopes get, what amount of money. So 370, I should know that by now. My brain is fried. $740. Alrighty, let's move over. So these are the fixed expenses. So I looked at the calendar and then documented out all of the fixed expenses that I have. And I do have to write that in ahead of time because last check, or the check before that, I actually had 3 things that were listed on the calendar that I forgot to put here on the worksheet. And that ended up, luckily I did not go negative, but I couldn't figure out why I had so much money that was available when I did that budget with me. And now I know why. It's because I was missing 3 of them. So let's make sure I have all of these added up together. It comes up to, let's say 1244. So let's try it again. 809, 2, 11, 102, 10, 44, 185, and 81. Yep, 1,244 for fixed expenses. Now, you might notice, I don't know if you guys can see that, there is a green check mark over here that's going down, and this is a good news story. So, story time, popcorn and Coke. So, I completed first, back in October of last year, I decided to remove my property insurance from my mortgage payment. I wanted to control that because I was thinking about going to a different company instead of using the one that I do. And I thought it would be easier to change up if I was managing it myself. Plus, I'd gotten an escrow analysis, and I was supposed to go up by $60 or $70, I think it was, when they added in my property insurance plus my property taxes. And I didn't want to see this increase at all. So I removed that from there, and they said, even with me removing it, they did another escrow analysis, but my amount stayed the same. It pretty much was 803 at first, and then it moved to 809. And so it hasn't been challenging this year to cover the costs for the property insurance still in here in the mortgage, but still save for it at the same time until I got another escrow analysis done. So I did get a notification in email. I've not gotten the paper copy yet, but I did get a notification in email that they did the next escrow analysis. So I knew that I would see a change. Number one, I should see a change because I removed the property insurance. Number two, I should see a change because I did complete a homestead exemption for my home, although I don't qualify for the ones that are there around age or the type of use of the property. They do have a standard 4% one, I think it is, in the state of Georgia. And so I completed it just to hope that it would go through and I could get it, because I have seen an increase. When I first bought this house in 2017, my property taxes was around $1,600. And I am up to like $2,200 or $2,300 now, which is ridiculous. So I did fill out for the homestead exemption. I got the homestead exemption. So I was like, okay, wow, great. So I should see a decrease in my mortgage. And then on top of that, as I reported a few videos ago, the state of Georgia is also giving an additional property relief to anyone that has a homestead exemption in place. Not everybody's getting it, just if you had a homestead exemption. So, hey, God is good. I didn't know that was going to happen. I'm glad I did the homestead exemption. So I got the notification, logged into my account, looked at my escrow analysis, and the first thing that I saw was a voided check for $344. And it says that I had an overage or an overpay for escrow. So that should be a check that's coming, and I am so grateful to that. You know, Jesus be looking out for her girl. So I'm excited about that because I can use that $344 to help with Corinne's money that I had to pay for her school. And then I can use the rest of it, or my plan is to use the rest of it to fill in for deductibles, since I had to buy those glasses. So that makes it easier when I get ready to go to the doctor the 1st of October. So that was good news. Second thing I saw was that my mortgage should decrease from $809 a month to $714 or $715 every month starting in November. So that's another good news story for me. So that's why I have that green arrow there. And I'm excited about that. It'll give me a little bit of a relief because my pay itself, right now I'm getting paid out a bonus throughout the year for a bonus that I qualified for with my job. And that's around $100 and some odd dollars paycheck that I was receiving. So this escrow analysis, now that that amount has gone down, is definitely going to help out to kind of cover those costs as I move into the new year. Okay, talk too long. So that total is $1,244, and then I have the Sally Mae. Now the Sally Mae has gone down. I usually pay $250 a month for Kim's. $250 per paycheck for Kim's student loans. I am at around $800 that I owe now, $817 I think it is, and I wanted to see how much that would be over a 4-month period. Again, I'm trying to get as much money as I can together and have it available to cover the fees for my daughter for her school, ThesCon, and for choir to go to Carnegie Hall in New York. So when I looked at that and budgeted it out, then that means it would be about $205 for each of the checks for the next 4 checks and that she gives me. So that was good because that gives me about $45 each paycheck to go towards those fees. Nelnet, well, I guess all of it won't go towards that because Nelnet is now coming back into play, and that is going to be an auto draft as well. So that's for $86. So I have to plan for that. And then when I did my last paycheck budget, I forgot about the Public, which is an investment app. And they're taking out $20 out of my savings, my variable expense savings buffer or variable expense buffer account. They take $20 at the end of every month and invest it. So I do need to remember, did not remember before, but I need to make sure I remember now. So that's 205 plus 86 plus 20 equals 311. You know, very rarely do I talk enough where the screen goes black. So I'm talking too much. All right, so let's go ahead and write in these amounts. Income, 2920, minus savings, 100, minus sinking funds, 400, minus variable, 740, fixed expenses, 1244, and debt, 311. All right, so let's see where we are. 2920 minus 100 minus 400, 740, 1244, 311 equals. All right, so this says I have $125 left to play around with. Let me try that again just to be sure, and then I'm tell you what I'm gonna do. 740, 1244. Yep. All right, it's 125. Okay, so I have 125 to play with. I'm not going to mess with anything else here, but I have some debt that I pay in as a part of the first paycheck. So here are the debts that I pay as a part of the first paycheck: Kohl's, Green Sky, Rooms to Go, Bridgecrest, which is my new car loan. So I'm saying that to say I just did a credit utilization again, and my debt confession. So I did my debt confession probably about 4 weeks ago maybe. And in that, I had a comment from someone that said, hey, you know, if you could put a little extra towards your Green Sky, is the one that she referenced, instead of just paying the minimum, because if you just keep it at the minimum with having $5,600 that you still have to pay, it's going to take you about 8 years to pay it. So she said, you know, why wouldn't you try and give a little extra to that? And she was like, maybe give your $200 towards that. I can't do $200 towards that, but it did get me thinking, what is it that I could do differently as far as contributing more to some of this debt while I am still working on other pieces of my debt plan or my debt journey. So I don't want to take on too much. So let me say that first. So I do know and recognize this is important for me to do, and I need to take care of my debt. But I also recognize that if I have too many things going on at one time, that it's going to be hard to, number one, track, number two, focus, and then I don't want to get burnt out. So right now, I am working on paying off my Best Buy. I had that total debt amount that I moved to my Discover card at 0% interest for 12 months as a part of a balance transfer. I talked about that on the last short that I just did. I think it actually posted this week. And so that's good. So I'm tackling that, and I'm paying $200 a month. So I should have that paid off in 12 months. But what else could I potentially do? So as I went through my credit utilization, the one that was really horrible was Kohl's. Kohl's was at a 90% credit utilization. I pay roughly 90 something dollars to them every month. And so I did go in and look at my Kohl's account. So I pay them $91 a month. $65.94 of that is interest, because I have a 30.9% interest rate. So my thought is, what can I do to put some money towards this? Now, I don't know if I want to take the whole 125 and put towards that, but I do want to at least put maybe half towards that, or maybe half of the interest towards that, to add it there. When I looked at my statement, it said if I move my payment from $91 a month to $113 a month, it goes from being paid off in 9 years to being paid off in 3 years. So I want to do something like that. So my thought is maybe pay them $125. So if I pay Kohl's $125, well, it won't be $125. I've already paid them $91 for their payment for this month. So maybe it's just giving them the $65.94. Now that I'm thinking through it, I speak to think, so I have to think my way through what I'm talking about here. So I don't have to pay them now. I've already paid them out of the last paycheck. It is auto drafted out of my account, and I don't want to mess with that, so I'm going to leave that the same. This says $64.94. So if I make an extra debt payment of $65, let's write that in here, Kohl's. And I'll pay that on my own since they're not going to take it out. So $65. Then that leaves me a $60 buffer just in case something else happens, and that feels a little bit better. So I think that's what I'm going to do. 311 plus 65 equals, why did I do that? 311 plus 65 equals 376. All right, so I talked myself out of it. First I was like, no, I don't want to give that much towards it, but it does make sense. So that should be 376. And then this should be 376. And then 125 minus 65 was 60. Yeah. So that leaves $60. So I'm still in the positive, still have a little bit of a buffer in there just in case. But that'll make me feel better. And that kind of just, I'm glad that that particular person, and I cannot remember her handle, that commented, just got me thinking, is there something else I can do? So I'm already tackling Best Buy. Can I tackle something else in the interim? And this makes sense to me. So for this check, I should be able to give Kohl's another $65. So at least that full 91 will go towards the amount that I owe. And I think that is it. Oh, one other thing. So there is another YouTuber. She has Cash and Plans. And I was looking at one of her, and if you're not following her, I would just recommend that you do. She's funny and very engaging. So I think you'd have a good time with her YouTube channel. But she does something where she has a gas buffer. And I think that's something that I also need to do. I haven't figured out how to work it in here. I may use one of these savings challenges. Like I mentioned before, I was thinking about doing another mini savings challenge, and I may do that as my gas buffer. And the reason why I need that is because I usually set myself up for about $60 every week for gas, and I rarely ever use it, but I always go over, and a lot over, when I go home, because I have a lot of driving that I have to do once I get there. For some reason, everybody forgets how to drive. My mama, my sister, everybody forgets how to drive when Monique is in town. So I am finding that I can very easily double that 160. I'm sorry, double that 60 into 120 when I have to go home. And I have to go home in October twice. I have to go home in December once, November once. I have to go home. Nope. I have to go home October twice. I have to go home November twice. I have to go home December twice. So I can already see I'm going to need some buffer on that. So shout out to her as I was watching her YouTube channel or one of her videos, and she said that she does have a gas buffer, and I think I'm going to work that out in my next look as far as my paycheck budget is concerned. Okay, now it is over. This was way too long, but I thank you all for your time. You guys have